Hello and welcome to Step 2, Customizing Your Site Settings and Checkout Options. Now we've just finished going through Step 1, and if you haven't watched that video, be sure to go watch that video first and take care of that first before getting into this video. Again, so this is Step 2, and here I just want you to know that there are several available settings that you can choose from to customize the experience for your visitors on your website. And depending on how your website's set up or the purpose that you have for it, including your own personal preferences, the way you configure these settings may differ significantly. So that being the case, we'll simply explain and cover where these settings can be found and what they do. And then we'll let you make that final decision on how you'd like to use them. Okay, so let's start by reviewing several of your site's general settings or your general options. And to get there, we can either click on this Store tab up here, or we can click on the My Settings button down here. So I'm going to click My Settings here, and you'll notice it brings me to the Store tab, and it by default takes me to the My Settings section of the Store tab. Now these are general features, and as we read through these, you can see that you've got several options here as far as displaying inventory on your site, yes or no, password protecting your site, yes or no, allowing new registrations, low inventory notices, and so on and so forth. Now, we're not going to cover each one of these in depth, but I want you to definitely go through these and read them, decide how you want these to be. If you're going to use inventory on your site, you probably want to display it. If you're not, say no. If you want to password protect your site, you can say no, and or yes or no here, and so on and so forth. Now, one other thing I want to mention on this page is that you have this option to display a sales rep on your My Account page. Now, when you do that, it'll put a little box in the My Account page of your customers' logins on your website, where they can then see a name, phone, city, state, and so on. And in this case, we've just put in some fake information here, but at any time, you just come in here and put in the correct information for your site. We also deal with store currencies. If you have, if you're in a different country and you want something other than the US dollar, that's no problem. We've got pretty much every currency there is to pick from. You've got different notifications, different ways to display options as far as how your products appear on your product pages. For example, if I go to a site right here, you can see that we're showing all items per page, one product per row, and we're sorting it by A to Z. But if you want to change how that defaults, you can come in here and you can say, well, I want the category and search pages to default to 5 items per page, 1 per row, and maybe I want to have it default to prices low to high. And you simply update your general options, and then next time people come in here, they would see your changes. Additionally, your users, just like I'm doing here, can modify how they view these products on their own. So I've switched it from 1 item per row to 3. And that's maybe how I prefer to shop through your site. But giving these people the options, your site visitors the options, makes it easy for them to view their products the way they prefer. Okay, so now that we've covered some of the general settings for your site, let's talk more specific settings dealing with how your website charges shipping, taxes, and along with how to set up the acceptance of payment from your customers if they decide to make a purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this shopping cart link here under the Store tab. I've got several, again, sections here. Now, some of the general options deal with requiring registration before people can add items to the cart. Do you or don't you want them to do that? Do you want to allow orders without inventory? Let's say you are using inventory and all your inventory is gone, but you still want people to be able to purchase. Then you could say yes here. If not, you'd say no. And there's other options here that are pretty self-explanatory as you read through them. If any of these settings don't make sense, you can get more in-depth tutorials on these in our support tab. But in the meantime, just read through these. For example, hide site subcategory page. Is that something you do or don't want to do? Now, as you set up products, that setting is going to make more sense to you because you can sort your products into categories and subcategories. So, in any case, as you set up your site, you'll see how some of these preferences will relate to the kinds of things that you may or may not need. Okay, now if we go back to the shopping cart section, you've got shipping, which is a big one. Okay, now shipping, typically what I recommend is that you enable shipping first of all, and that you simply use UPS shipping by weight. If you do this, UPS is automatically, our system is integrated with UPS, and it's automatically going to connect to UPS upon checkout and calculate the proper shipping charges based on the products that somebody's trying to purchase and the destination that they select where it should be sent to. Okay. Now, if you don't want to use UPS shipping by weight, you can say no, and of course it'll remove all those, and then you can add your own shipping types that calculate shipping based on weight ranges or price ranges, and that's fine too. But UPS shipping is the simplest and most automated way to do it, and that's what I recommend unless you're in some excuse me, in some unique situation where that doesn't make sense. Now, you can also display handling charges on a separate line, so that people can clearly see that you've got different handling charges. If you don't want to do that, you say no, and then it kind of combines it into the shipping charge itself. There's options here to estimate the shipping in the checkout. So when they're adding items to the cart, they can see what the shipping would estimate, what you'd estimate the shipping to be before they make a purchase. And then this ship from zip code just is used with UPS to let UPS know that, hey, when these goods are shipped, they're shipping from this zip code, and that helps UPS to know how much to calculate for the shipping charges. You have global handling fees, and then also you can charge product-specific shipping fees per piece, which means if they order 10 items, it'll get charged that product-specific shipping fee 10 times, or per order, where if they order that product, no matter how many they order, it'll just charge a product-specific shipping fee one time. Okay, and you'll know whether or not you need to use these settings. As you start to add products to your site, you'll know whether or not you need to use some of these settings. And so it's just good to be familiar with them so that if it comes up, you know where they are and how to use them, and you can say, oh yeah, I remember that setting. That's something I'm going to need because I'm shipping this extra large or extra heavy item that's going to need some extra handling fees tacked onto it, or shipping fees. So as you go into your shipping options down here, though, you can specify which of the UPS options you want to offer. Maybe you want to offer all of them, so you just simply select all of them. And our integration will automatically calculate not only the shipping price, but what shipping options are available based on the customer's destination address. So if you offer them all, and say somebody orders from you and you live in Kansas and they want to ship to Hawaii, well, ground's not going to be an option. It would have to go, obviously, through the air or some other option. So our integration will take care of that for you. Okay. So, decide on how you want to set up your shipping and what you prefer there. It's all based on your preferences. We've also got sales tax. Now, if you are in a situation where you need to charge sales tax, then you're going to want to enable sales tax for your store. You have options to estimate it, and then decide whether or not freight is taxable and whether you want to charge sales tax on back orders. And there's some more complex settings here that you may or may not use, and that's fine. So as you enable tax, you can select which states or countries that sales tax is applicable for, and then down in here you can specify what percentage of tax to charge based on postal codes. Okay, now there's a lot of different ways that systems manage postal codes. Our system has decided to do it based on zip code because that gives you the most flexibility, depending on where you live, to have different percentages charged based on where the person lives that's buying the product. So these question marks refer to wildcards. So if you live in California in the Bay Area and your zip code is 94 something something something, then this will pick up that particular area and charge 5.25%. Same with the 9, 6, and so on. If you need to get more specific, you can edit these and you can fill in the question marks with actual numbers. Maybe you want to say 9787, and then that'll be a very specific zip code with accompanying tax percentage. Okay, so as you add these tax patterns in here, excuse me, then you can simply select them up here, and that by doing so makes them active for your store here. Okay, so be sure to set up your shipping, your sales tax, and then we also have options with coupons and discounts, collecting custom data from your customers in the checkout, setting up a return policy. We're going to skip over payment options for just a second. You can set up budgets or gift certificates, which give people an amount of money to spend when they come to your store without putting in a credit card. And then we have these customer groups, which deals more with providing or restricting access to products on a customer group basis. And depending on your situation, you may or may not have a use for that. But let's cover payment options more specifically here, because every store or website is going to need a way to accept payment. Now, the traditional way is through credit cards or PayPal. And so what you can do is you can come in here and you can add your payment options. In yours, you're only going to have a credit card already, or you'll have none. And so you want to add a new payment option. And when you do that, you want to give it a name. Select the type, of course. Give it a name. And then you have all of these options. Now, most of these are not going to be applicable. However, one that is important is that you do notice this add to all new users. What that does is when new users register or create an account on your site, it will automatically give them this payment option as a choice when they check out. So if you add credit card as a payment option and you do not select this, when they get to your checkout, they're not going to have anything to pick from as far as how to pay. So you want to make sure that you do add to all new users if you want all your new users to have this option to pay. Okay. Now when you're done, you simply click Update Payment Options here, and it'll add it, and then that'll be available in the checkout process. Something else that you want to notice is that you have a Select Payment Processor. So if you are going to accept credit cards, it needs to know which payment processor to use to process those credit card payments. Now we're integrated with several payment processors, including one that we recommend, which is Network Merchants. However, if you don't want to use a merchant account or a payment processor other than PayPal, then you don't need to, and you can simply, as you add a payment processor, just select PayPal from the drop down here, and then it'll ask you whether you're a standard or pro PayPal account, and it'll ask you for ID numbers and which credit card types you accept, and some other questions here that you'll be able to get from your PayPal account. So depending on how you want to accept payments on your site, you can set them all up here under payment options, but just be sure that if you're going to use PayPal, you set it up as a payment processor, and if you're going to accept credit cards or other forms of payment, decide whether or not you want to add those to all new users or just a few. And if it's not going to be all new users, for example, this e-check option, or maybe you come up with an option right here that's called net terms, which means you can basically pay later. Well, you may only want to offer that to a few of your really trusted customers. So you wouldn't check this box. You would manually assign that to their accounts as they come and create accounts on your site. So there are a lot of options when it comes to payment choices, and hopefully as we cover these, you can see that you can pretty well set up your payment options however you want, but how you do so is really up to you. And so more than anything, we just want to cover where these sections are, how to navigate through them, and then let you decide what's the best way to set them up for your situation. Okay, so we've pretty well covered the three main steps of these settings, which is shipping, sales tax, and payment options. Again, we really encourage you to click through and see what all your other options are here with coupons and discounts, with your return policy, And just don't be afraid to get in here and click around and become familiar with your system, because as we mentioned in our introductory video, there's really a lot of things that this system can do. It's very flexible, and whether you use a large percentage of those features or just a small percentage is entirely up to you, and it doesn't make a difference as far as the software is concerned. And so we just want to make sure that you're aware of what's available to you, and let you make that decision on how best to use those settings. Okay, so hopefully we've covered this area in a way that gets you familiar with it, allows you to get started on setting up some of these different options. And again, if you ever need more in-depth information about any of this, be sure to come to the support tab and check into the editing of your site, the managing of your products, the payment processing, and so on and so forth. We have a lot of really great in-depth videos on some of these settings specifically. So with that said, we're going to end this tutorial, and we'll see you in step 3, which covers how to add products. Thank you.